On May 10th, 2015, Julian's auctioned off a guitar said to belong to Elvis Presley. It was a 1963 Ebony, or black, Gibson J200. It sold for $75,000. Now, according to the auction details, this was one of Elvis's favorite guitars. He played it at home, and he played it at concerts. I'm not so sure about that. Now let's take a look back at some of Elvis's most iconic guitars. In the 50s, everybody remembers seeing Elvis with his famous Martin D28 with the custom hand-tooled leather cover. All of America got to see it on The Ed Sullivan Show in 1956. Another guitar famously associated with Elvis was a blonde maple Gibson J200, used in the films Loving You, King Creole, and GI Blues. Although these were the same guitar, they didn't belong to Elvis. They were studio props. Now, Elvis did own a 1956 and a 1960 blonde Gibson J200. In 1968, from the famous NBC special, there was the Hagstrom Viking II that Elvis used in the show's opening and the stand-up performances. Now, this guitar was not Elvis's. It actually belonged to studio musician Al Casey. From the same show, you do get to see Elvis's own blonde maple 1956 Gibson J200, along with a beautiful Gibson Super 400 that Elvis borrowed from Scotty Moore. Scotty owned that guitar. Then in 1969, Elvis returned to live performances. He debuted in Las Vegas with his updated 1956 Gibson J200, now with a custom engraved atomic pickguard and his name inlaid in pearl across the fretboard. This guitar can be seen in the film Elvis, That's the Way It Is. Now in 1971, Elvis unveiled what is probably his most iconic guitar, a 1969 Gibson Ebony Dove, with his name once again adorned across the fretboard in ornament pearl script, and a Kenpo Karate decal placed just behind the bridge. The world got to see this guitar prominently in the film Elvis on Tour and in the live via satellite from Hawaii concert. Which now brings us to the guitar in question. On March 1st, 1974, Elvis kicked off his spring tour in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Elvis hit the stage for the first time with a 1968 Ebony Gibson J200, serial number 618195. By September of '74, Elvis had also added the Kenpo Karate decal just behind the bridge, as he had done on the Gibson Dove. Elvis used this guitar pretty much exclusively until July 15, 1975, where in Springfield, Massachusetts, near the end of C.C. Rider, he broke a string. And in frustration, Elvis threw the guitar behind him towards a stagehand. But Elvis, being frustrated, and being Elvis Presley, threw the guitar a little too aggressively, and it flew into the audience seated behind the stage. It crashed into the railing, but just as it did, it was caught by a fan, Lawrence Long. Elvis looked over, and he told him to keep the guitar. Now, this is a very well-documented event. This is also where the mystery really begins. The guitar that Julian's auctioned off in May of 2015 is a 1963 Ebony Gibson J200, serial number 61952. The attached letter of authenticity is signed by Marty Lacker. Now, Marty Lacker went to high school with Elvis and was a key member of the Memphis Mafia. Elvis had hired Marty to work for him in 1961. Marty continued to work for him until Elvis's death on August 16, 1977. Now, this is what the letter says. This is to state that I was a close friend and confidant of Elvis Presley's for over 20 years. I was his chief personal aide for a number of years, as well as his best man, along with Joe Esposito, at his wedding in Las Vegas in 1967. This 1963 black Gibson J200 has a burgundy pickguard with 4 yellow flowers running along a yellow vine. There is a black, white, red, and yellow Kenpo Karate sticker at the base of the guitar. Elvis practiced the art of karate and added this sticker in honor of Ed Parker and Kenpo Karate. Elvis also owned several pieces of jewelry with the Kenpo Karate logo on them. The guitar was given to me by Elvis at Graceland in 1976 as I was leaving the house one day. According to Elvis, the guitar was given to him during a recording session at Studio B in Nashville in the 60s. The serial number on the guitar is 61952. Elvis preferred Gibson acoustic guitars over others due to their unique quality and sound. The guitar was a favorite of Elvis's, and he played it often, both at Graceland and on stage in Las Vegas and other concerts. Sincerely, Marty Lacker. There's also a plaque with 2 photos of Elvis playing an Ebony Gibson J200 with an inscription that reads, Elvis Presley's Black Gibson J200 stage guitar. This 1963 Black Gibson acoustic guitar, serial number 61952, was given to Elvis during a Nashville recording session in the mid-60s. Elvis played this guitar both at Graceland as well as on stage at the Las Vegas Hilton during the 70s. The guitar has Elvis's Kenpo Karate patch attached to honor his friend, Ed Parker, the founder of Kenpo Karate. This guitar was given to Memphis Mafia member Marty Lacker in 1976 by Elvis while leaving Graceland one day. Marty first met Elvis at Humes High in the early 50s and would go on to be Elvis's road manager as well as best man at his wedding to Priscilla in 1967. There's also a matted photograph of Elvis Presley with a small plaque that reads, Elvis Presley live in concert. This photograph captured Elvis's return to Jackson, Mississippi on June 9, 1975. The concert was a sellout and was held at the State Fair Coliseum. The 2-piece jumpsuits were worn on stage only a couple of times. Elvis had several 2-piece blue jumpsuits made, which he wore in the spring and summer of 1975 in concerts. Now here's a couple of differences between these 2 guitars that made me want to make this video in the first place. The 1968 Gibson J200 has a bridge with a very unique rosewood adjustable saddle that was not introduced on this model until the late 60s. The 1963 auction guitar has a gold-plated metal adjustable bridge with individual string saddles. Now this is a very noticeable difference. If you look closely at the bridges on all the guitars Elvis is holding in the photos with the auction, you can see they are not shiny metal, but clearly a dark, probably rosewood, color. If you look at other photos of Elvis with an Ebony J200 between March 1974 to July 1975, again, all dark, probably rosewood, saddles. Another difference between these guitars is the back. The 1963 auction guitar has a 2-piece back. The 1968 guitar has a 3-piece back. The only other Ebony Gibson J200 I can find associated with Elvis Presley is a 1974 custom-built Ebony Gibson J200 that was ordered from Gibson by a fan named Jim Curtin and given to Elvis at a concert in Las Vegas on September 2nd, 1974. Again, this guitar was never used at any concerts. To my knowledge, the only other time this guitar was ever seen publicly was from a photograph that Graceland published in 1994 with all of Elvis's guitars arranged on the staircase inside Graceland. Now, it's certainly possible that Elvis did give Marty a guitar. I mean, they were friends since high school. It's also possible that Elvis owned another J200, possibly. But the guitar sold at the auction was specifically said to be used on stage. You would think with the thousands and thousands, probably tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of photographs taken of Elvis in concert between 1974 and 1975, when he gave the 68 J200 away, there'd be at least one photograph of Elvis with the 1963 guitar. And I have scoured and scoured, and I have not found any evidence of that whatsoever. Now in 2015, a 1963 Gibson J200 in good condition would have probably sold for about $7,000. Today, a 1963 Gibson J200 would go for about $10,000 in good condition. So my personal opinion, that guitar that was auctioned off at Julian's was a really nice 1963 Gibson J200 that looked a lot like Elvis Presley's. But I think that somebody paid way too much for a vintage 1963 Gibson Ebony J200. But that's just my personal opinion.